Hello, 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 and welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race RuCap here on reality TV RHAP-Ups. I'm your host, Liana Boris, and we are here to talk about the finale of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 5. And of course, at the end, we're also going to touch on Canada's Drag Race episode 4. We did it, guys. We finally finished All Stars, even though it was only 8 episodes. It's been a long run of Drag Race. Just as a programming note, we are going to be continuing coverage for Canada's Drag Race after this. So keep a lookout for that. We are in your earbuds through your favorite podcast app, or you can check us out on the YouTube page. That's Rob Has a Podcast's YouTube page to see our lovely faces, all of the runways, and things like that. So I am not alone. I have a wonderful panel here for you today. First, I'd like to welcome in a woman who I've just had such a pleasure talking to throughout this whole season, Beth Dixon. Beth, how are you?
I am relicking to be here to cover the. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it relishing? Relishing to be here. I'm so excited. This has been such a fun season to cover, and the opportunity to come on here and chat with you all and talk about it has been fantastic. So I just want to quickly thank everybody for being so welcoming to having my voice on the podcast. And this has just been so much fun. I'm so excited to continue our conversations about Canada's Drag Race, but to wrap up All Stars 5.
And we also have a man here with us today who I can't wait to catch up with, Aman Adwin. Aman, how are you?
I am so happy to be here. We have reached the end, y'all. Another one in the books. And with a very satisfying ending, I must say. Although I feel like it was kind of hard-pressed not to be satisfying considering the final 3. So,
True.
We also have a special guest for you today. He's a new voice to RHAP. We met him through the class of 2020. That is Josh Mendelson. Josh, welcome to the RuCap.
Hi, Leanna. I am so excited to be here, and especially for the finale episode. Like, I'm gagging right now. I couldn't be happier. I am a huge RuPaul's Drag Race fan, have watched since season 1, back when I was a college baby, and I have not missed an episode. So,
Josh, you are a super fan of RuPaul's Drag Race. Is there anything else that you would like the podcast listeners to know before we dive into everything RuPaul?
You know what? I am the biggest reality TV junkie on the planet. I'm a huge, obviously, Big Brother Survivor. I have been watching everybody on Sequester, so I love that too. But honestly, I am like a reality TV encyclopedia. You give me a season of a show, I can probably give you the full boot order. Probably, So I'm so excited to be here.
All right, well, All-Stars 5, go. Oh, wait, no.
Let's go. All right. Mayhem Miller. No,
I was going to say, yes, there'll be a quiz at the end, bringing on Jordan Kalish to quiz us on everything RuPaul. All right, well, let's get into our thoughts on the finale. Aman, I want to hand it over to you. Satisfying ending for you. Shea Coulee is crowned our winner. What are your thoughts overall?
I mean, finally. We've all known the story about Shea Coulee, right? Like, she
Ta-da!
had yeah.
Sorry, on the video, I have the congratulations Shea Coulee picture that I stole from the Twitter account, the RuPaul's Drag Race Twitter account.
Yes, work.
She, her story arc, she has probably one of the most popular redemption arcs in Drag Race history, you know what I mean? Because she had such a good run on season 9, and then it all came crashing down with rose petals at the end. So she had a lot to prove, and she certainly wasn't shy about referencing said failure. So in a lot of ways, this was just such an epic success, not only for her, but for the Drag Race community in general. And it's a needed win in a time that we're in right now, like just celebrating black queens. And I just love the fact that she said that her drag is really a homage to beautiful black women. I just thought that was just a nice touch. So I'm happy. It's hard. It really is. It's really hard to not like Shea Coulee. Who dislikes Shea Coulee?
Yeah,
you're
definitely
not. Your hand at that, you can get out.
Seriously.
You're
For
like,
the
Canceled.
podcast listeners, none of us raised our hands. I think we all fancy ourselves a little bit of Shea Coulee. But Josh, I think one of the things about this season is that it is crowning Shea Coulee, of course, for her accomplishments on All Stars 5, but almost feels a little bit like writing, or not maybe writing, but rewarding her, of course, for her past performance on season 9.
Yes, I honestly, from the second this season started, Shea was the front runner. There was no question. And then, honestly, every episode, she just put herself at such a level where she was just slaying week after week. I mean, she had a few minor flaws, but some of those performances she made really put her, in my opinion, in one of my top 5 Drag Race contestants of all time. There's no question to me. She's incredible.
Yeah, Beth, I think we talked about this probably at the beginning of the season, but like this felt like, now that it's all over, there were moments of doubt, but felt like sort of the march to crown Shea Coulee.
It really did. I'm thankful for that too. I think, before we went live, one of the things that we were talking about was, where does this All-Star season stack in terms of the other ones? And I felt like every week, based on the performance that they were doing in the competition, the right queen went home. Even if it was heartbreaking, it was probably the right person who went home every single week. And I do think that the right winner won. I think that Shea has brought just an elevated level of drag from the moment that she graced her screen in season 9. I'm so thankful that she's finally being seen. Well, I mean, I don't think I think that maybe in her own mind, she was being seen as like maybe not being one of the best because she wasn't able to like take home the crown. But I really feel like this all the way around was validating, not only for Shea, but like for all of us, of like, look at how much of a boss ass bitch Shea Coulee is. Like, she really just went and did that. And she deserved it. I'm with you, Josh. She's one of my top favorites ever since I saw her in season 9. I got to see Work the World's second ever show. It was in Montreal, and it was 3 days after Valentina had been eliminated from season 9, and I got to meet Valentina, who was in a mood.
Love that. When is she not in a mood, though?
and Shea, and obviously Shea, you could tell Shea had the confidence of like the quiet confidence. It was not at all egotistical. It was like, I've got this. This is my season to lose. And she was just so warm. And I recorded a wonderful conversation that's somewhere on YouTube of her and Bianca Del Rio, who was the one that was hosting the show, talking. And this was just, you could tell that this was hers, and when it slipped through her fingers, I was upset about that for a long time, just because I felt like her warm energy really probably suffered from that in terms of how she felt about herself in the community. So I'm happy that this is all coming for full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with Shea Coulee as the winner. I also want to give just so many commendations to the other 2 queens who are in the top 3 as well. Jujubee and Cracker, I think, also performed so well throughout the season. This was just such a great top 3. Not so happy about this song, for not the queen's faults, but we'll talk about all of that. But overall, I think I'm happy with the outcome. I think this was a really great season, actually, now that we kind of can look back and think about it a little bit more holistically. I really enjoyed everything that this season had to offer. And I think it was the right length. Also, I'm kind of happy it was only 8 episodes. We didn't have any returning queens or anything like that, of course, apart from the queens coming back at the end to perform. But overall, I think just a really outstanding season. Okay, let's get into all of the details from this episode. So, Josh, was this the top 3 that you anticipated? This is the conversation that's had after Blair's elimination.
Absolutely. Okay, first of all, Blair is like the Judy Greer of RuPaul's Drag Race. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So I knew right from the first episode this would most likely be your top 3. They all were there for different reasons, and they all proved a different thing. So like Jujubee proved that she is worth being a legend because she has that legendary status, and showed that she's there. Not always the best, but she's there. You have Ms. Cracker, who I think proved herself that she is she got out of her own head. I think in season 10, she was in her head too much. And I think this time she proved like she can do it. And I think Shea was redemption. She should have won the first time. And I think she came back and owned her throne.
We also had the oddest pillow fight, Beth, I think I've ever seen on Drag Race. I'm trying to think if we ever seen a pillow fight. It's just like Jujubee coming out of nowhere. But of course, like that's just Jujubee's charm.
It was also, it elevated to like a smack cam, but with the fake boobs. Like that to me, like I thought like legitimately that I can't remember who slapped who with a boob off the top of my head. But
Shea slapped Juju.
Yeah.
Thank you. All I could think about was like that could actually hurt, like just like the slapping portion of that. But then I was like, all right, but that's just getting dirty pillows into it. Honestly, at the end of the day, it wasn't still a pillow fight. It was, but that to me just kind of defines this season. That there was a level of quirkiness, a level of respect that was still underneath of it, but just a level of fun. I think that's what kind of defines this season. This wasn't like All Stars 2. You had a whole bunch of Shea Kool-Aids in the competition, in my opinion. You had a lot of people who were there for redemption. But I agree with your assessment, Josh. We had Jujubee, who in my mind, if I hate to compare queens, but like when you have someone who's proving that they're a legend, like to me, if you look at other seasons, that would have been like a Manila, for example, in season 4.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had Ms. Cracker coming out of her own head, right? That's very Katya in season 2. You have the queen that really like wanted this with every fiber of their being, almost got the crown and then got it. That for me is Alaska. So I think that there's a lot of parallels here that when we look at some of the queens that have been in previous seasons, we got to see that in the top 3 and knew that people would be happy with literally any of them. But I think that people are especially happy that Shea won. I don't want to speak for everybody in the world, but I do think that generally people are happy.
I mean, I think there's part of me that wanted Jujubee to win just because she's performed so well. She's so charismatic. She's so fun. She's so funny. But at the end of the day, when you compare the two of them, it just feels right to give Shea Coulee the crown. But Jujubee needs something. I will make her a crown. I don't know if she wants it, but she deserves some sort of accolade.
You better believe it.
That's right. Yeah. Go to Fierce Drag Jewels. Okay. So before we talk about the reunion-ish thing, do you guys remember the whole phone call thing? So I listened to Drag Her, which is Nicole Byers' podcast, and they interviewed Cara Klenk, I think is how you say her last name. It's Klenk. She served as a writer, like producer for the show. And apparently each week, Ru would call the lip sync assassin, and there was a different phone each week. So there was like a hamburger phone and like a super old cell phone and things like that. So that phone tied into, I think, calling the other girls to like come back and do the reunion or something like that. Anyway, it made sense, I think, in the grand scheme of things. But thank you to who reached out to me telling me about that. I really appreciate that. It provided some reason for why there was just a rando phone call at the end of last week's episode.
So why wouldn't they just include that in the rest of the episodes?
They had time. Lord knows they had time. It's like a 10-second bit.
I was
nonsense.
I was kind of like led on to believe, is it going to be like season 3 again, where we have the whole Game of Thrones thing where they take out Shangela? But it was like, they just bring them back so they can sit and watch it and have a second in the final song.
Right.
Like, okay.
I think they were really just trying to mess with us because they were like, they knew that the fans were speculating because like only 8 episodes. How could it really be the finale? So they were just like, let's just really mess with them now and throw that in there. Like,
They mess with me for sure.
I think we all kind of fell for it, like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
It was like, so we're getting a 9th episode, right? And you're like, I don't know, Beth. I'm like, I think.
All right, well, let's talk about the reunion. So all of the queens from the season come back and hide in the like puppet hole / glory hole that's in the workroom. Beth, give me your thoughts on the reunion. Obviously we have the main juice of all of this, which is I think we finally figured out what happened with the whole Alexis telling India to vote for Shea ordeal debacle.
Yeah, which I think Aman called a few weeks ago when we were talking about it, which was just that there was a miscommunication. I would also say that I think India chose her vocabulary very specifically and said the word campaign when a campaign does happen before a vote. It doesn't happen afterwards.
Alexis had her on that one. I was like, yes, you gotta drop that knowledge.
That's a poll. That's an exit poll, bitch. Like, you come out of here. Who did you vote for? That is not a campaign.
Yes, come through political science.
Yes.
Well, we knew Alexis was going to throw out shade. Like, come on, she's done it all season.
Oh, yeah, exactly. No, but in terms of like, why did they choose the puppet challenge hole for them to go behind? I still have so many questions about that. I thought they were going to do an impromptu like puppet challenge, but like have the returning queens do it in just about the final 3 or something like that. I thought that's what they were going to do, which I thought would have been fun.
That would have been fun. I didn't think about that.
Like, let me just stick my face in this hole while the 3 are talking about us across the room, basically. And it was interesting. It was funny.
Yeah, Josh, it was definitely giving me like Vanjie hiding in season 11 vibes.
Yeah, I loved it. I was living for it. Well, did anyone here love the India Farah eggplant outfit? I was living for that.
Oh my gosh. That is something my friend would absolutely wear.
I was living. Me and my roommate were sitting here and we were like, love. It was good.
I thought they were going to like try and make it like extra juicy. You know what I mean? Like I thought they were hoping that Cracker or Shea or Jujubee would have had something like negative to say about one of the other girls, because we know that those conversations are totally. I mean, they're not scripted, but they're contrived. Like the producers want them to talk about the other girls before we start with the segment. So I was thinking that they were gonna say somebody was gonna say something off color, but no, they were just nice.
Yeah, to be honest, the reunion was actually most of just the eliminated queens kind of hashing things out. Like the most that someone was what I guess Shea, but even she really wasn't even participating in the conversation. It was more just like India and Alexis and Mayhem all sort of hashing it out, which I thought was kind of interesting.
And Derek Barry going, "It's not me for once. This is great."
Yeah, I think let's see, what else was there? Any other thing that was interesting from that? Oh, the one line that I absolutely loved was when Mayhem and India were talking about their alliance, because it was like, oh, why can't so and so vote for so and so. I don't know who said it, but someone said a blood pact with India for what? I just love that.
Was that Jujubee?
It may have been.
It sounds like a Jujubee comment.
It was either Jujubee or Cracker. I felt like it was one of the final 3 that said that. But I died when that came up. I literally paused and laughed.
Yeah, so I guess, Aman, what did you think about this reunion? I mean, it was a reunion. It wasn't hosted by Ru. It was just the queens talking. What did you think about this format? Because honestly, I actually might like something like this in the future.
I mean, it definitely is a breeding ground for like more, things to come out. You know what I mean? Because when you go to the reunion, you set it all up, everything is like structured. So I sort of I enjoyed the fact that it was like, oh, it's just another day in the workroom. We're going to throw some shade out here and there. So I don't mind it. I kind of think that they should continue to do stuff like this because we anticipated it anyway. We anticipate the queens coming back at some point. So I was glad that they were like literal characters in this episode, aside from the final 3.
I think usually like they haven't had a reunion like full on in the past All Stars. Like this is the first one where they just brought them back for that purpose. And I think not having Ru there for a reunion makes it even shadier. They're going to throw out everything. Like Mariah was throwing shade out at Mayhem. It was great. I was living.
But they also remove like the whole like RuPaul is a therapist, counselor, conflict mediator wall, which like as we've discussed this season, Ru is not that. Even if he wants to think that he is, he's not. So I think it really does provide like to your point, Aman and Josh, like it really does allow the queens to say what they want to say without feeling like they're going to make a fool out of themselves or something in front of like their idol.
Right.
Yeah, I think this was fun. I think this was good. I think part of the drama came though from just having queens from older seasons, because I think now there's so much caution with how are the fans going to respond, and understandably so, because there is a part of the Drag Race fandom that's absolutely insane. And so, you know, the queens now are much more tempered, I think, to a certain extent. Whereas the queens from season 3, Mariah, Alexis, like when you were listing the people that were bringing the drama, I'm like, oh, those are the queens from like the early seasons. Like, I don't care. I'm out here. I'm just going to speak my piece. And I think that was also really refreshing. So I think probably a combination of the format, but also just with the queens and their general mentality and approach to drama on the show, I think was definitely the case, Josh.
I was most like overall season, I was actually surprised with how much drama Alexis Mateo brought. She came in, I was like, she's okay. Like, she was on All Stars 1, but like I wasn't that impressed. And she came in and she was throwing out drama every single week. I was like, okay, that's why they brought her back. And I enjoyed them bringing the old queens back because they were bringing the drama, like Mariah, her. It was working.
Yeah, I love Mariah. I love Alexis. I'm happy that they were brought back because I think they added a much needed je ne sais quoi to this season for sure. All right. Well, let's get into the performance, the actual main challenge this week. So the queens were asked to collaborate on Ru's latest song, Clap Back. Of course, they had to write and record their very own verse and then do choreo with Todrick Hall, perform it all, and that is the final challenge. So, Aman, what did you think about this challenge overall?
So I'm always a big fan of the All Stars Last Challenge because I'm a choreography queen, honey. I love dancing. I love the showmanship of it all. I eat it up every time. The Vixen, she tweeted, I was trying to find it while you were about to bring it up. It was something along the lines of Todrick Hall. Wait, let me see if we can find it. What did she say? Oh, she tweets so much. Why is it all the way down there? Anyway, it was something along the lines of like, Todrick Hall has a habit of giving like the dancing queens harder choreography, and it's kind of unfair in a competition. And honestly, I think I kind of agree, because the reason why Shea's performance was so awesome was because the choreography was up there. And if she fails at it, then it's like, well, of course she failed at it because you gave her this while you were giving the other girls kickball changes. But if she does good at it, then it's like, oh my goodness, Shea is the clear winner. You know what I mean? So it's like, anyway you slice it, it's just kind of like uneven. I'm a fan of it all, but like I really feel like you want, because people have been saying that this is the march to the end for Shea anyway, right? You want this last episode to really highlight all of the skills of all the queens that are left. And the best way to do that is to give them an equal playing ground in this music video. So that way we can't really tell what's going to happen. And I think that they sort of like dropped the ball in that respect.
It was definitely the challenge. Like, I thought, to me, like Jujubee and Cracker were like Shea's opening acts. Like, they were all great, but like it was Shea that just slayed that. And the choreographer they gave her was miles better than the other two.
Yeah, Beth, did you feel like this was a sort of clear win for Shea in this final challenge?
Well, I think the other thing we have to consider is that season 9 was the first time this was the finale challenge in a regular season. So Shea is the only one who's ever done this specific challenge to this degree in a finale kind of sense. Of course, didn't really help her in the long run because it just ended up like, oh, all 4 of you are great. You're all going to lip sync now. So there wasn't any kind of eliminated or crowned person based off of just that challenge in season 9. But it does give her a competitive edge because she kind of knows what she's going to be doing. I tend to agree with Aman and the Vixen that I think that it's very, like, it's unfair because, like, if someone doesn't do it properly, like, you sit there and kind of judge it. Like, but I also think that good dancers, good actors, good people who are in the moment know how to cover up mistakes, stay in character, and just keep going and make it seem like they didn't make a mistake. And the only person on the judges panel who would have known would have been Todrick. And if you can continue on, Todrick has given the note before when he's been a judge, which is, yeah, she messed up, but you wouldn't have known it. And that's great. And that's part of the challenge in my mind. But I think that, I mean, Shea just proved herself. She was fantastic. This is a challenge that you have to be able to write lyrics. You have to be able to memorize them. You have to be able to lip sync. You have to be able to do the choreography. And you have to do that all within like a day and a half. It's insane. And I don't know if people know this, they film those at least 2 times, if not 3 times. And I think what they generally do is take whatever the best take is. So not only do you do it once in front of the judges, you do it twice or 3 times and just hope that you get your best take every time. Because if the other 2 are stronger in one take and you're not, guess what they're going to go with?
Yeah, I really like the move to do these sort of final performances instead of being part of like a RuPaul music video, which is what sort of the final 3 challenge used to be. I think this tests the queens a little bit more. I think it can always be super fun. I think though, since Read You, Wrote You category we've had a little bit of a drop off potentially, or maybe it's just this particular performance. I thought the choreo was fantastic. I thought the queens looked fantastic. But if I'm just listening, not gonna lie, this was not my favorite. The song
it's not a good track.
Me. Okay, thank you, Aman. Yes, it's like not even really a track. Like the song has grown on me since, but I tried to remember some of the lyrics and I really can't. Like I think that there are other songs where there's just lyrics that stick with you. And this one didn't necessarily give me that, especially because I couldn't really understand Shea Coulee for like half of hers.
I didn't understand any of them. And
okay,
I honestly think that it's a mixing issue. The past couple seasons, I have not understood the lyrics. I didn't understand the lyrics in the second episode of this season when they did a similar challenge. So if for whatever reason, the sound mixing person is listening to us right now, please, can you step your pussy up a little bit and get it going? Because it is driving me crazy that I have to watch it 5 times in order to hear the words. I don't think it's an enunciation issue. I really do think it's sound mixing.
Leona, I agree with you about the quoting. This one wasn't quotable. Like, this isn't Kitty Girl. This isn't Read You, Wrote You. Like, those 2 I could quote. I want to quote BB Zahara's all day. I could quote. It's the best.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Even her in the girl group one, too. The Say Bonds.
Yeah, at least have one of them. I think Crackers is probably for me the most quotable because she's got the time for dinner line. But even that, I can't remember what goes before it.
Does it have anything to do with maybe, because correct me if I'm wrong, because I can't remember all of the other ones that well right now, but it seemed to me like the ones that we've seen in the past, like Read You, Wrote You, are like much more like they're like the audio, like the song strictly by itself is much more filled with just the queens and only the queens. Whereas I feel like this one was like interspersed with so much like RuPaul vocalization in there. And it kind of just like took me out of it, like each and every time. I don't know if I'm like being a little bit too critical, but like it was something that sort of like I kept noticing through the transition between each queen's verse. I was just like, oh, here comes the RuPaul part again. It was just a really very weird production on the track, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree with that. I guess that's what I was also getting at with like the sound mixing. You also have like in this one, there was like a lot of like whistles and like there's just a lot going on that detracts you from what the queens are saying. But I definitely feel like we've known that there's a lot of different music producers that are coming on and helping out ever since, Lucian Piani's just like off the deep end and done. But yeah, so I feel like they're finally getting on the right track. I would put this song above American. And I didn't like the season 10 finale one. I didn't like, what did they do in season? I can't even remember what they did in season 11.
Season 11. Oh, what was season 11? It was the one where Evie did the back bend and like
club.
Yeah, that was at Final 5.
Yeah. But there's like, I can't even really remember that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like for this one, at least the clap back, I'm going to be like, okay, I can get clap back and I'll remember that. It just
went for like this like minimalistic, like production. I feel like there maybe just wasn't enough melody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I think that's sort of like taking.
You're talking about for this one, Aman?
For this one, yeah.
For this one, yeah.
I did like Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
did
go ahead,
like-
Josh.
I did like the season 6 leg thing that they did in Crackers. I thought that was fun.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
They do that a lot.
The mini
now.
challenge.
It was cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, the choreography was hidden. That hardly ever is bad. I guess just the song didn't match the energy, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think like the actual performance, if you just watch it without the sound, like I
Just
did
watch it on
pull,
mute.
no, honestly, because I pulled a couple clips for each of the queens' performances, and I've just sort of been scrolling through them as we're talking. I'm pulling up Jujubee's now, and even Jujubee's, which like I think probably hers, I would say, is the weakest in terms of the choreo performance. Is still looks fantastic. Like this just looks so fun. But the song itself, I don't know. I can't tell if I think Super Queen is worse or this one is worse. No, this one is worse. I think there's more RuPaul in Super Queen and less of the actual queens. But in terms of the song, this one I just did not vibe with.
So
Super
you know
Queen was so weird. Wasn't that like the slowed down version for All
Yes,
Stars?
it was
that's
the
what I
slowed
was
down.
thinking of. And that was season 4, right? Of All Stars.
Yeah.
Yes.
That one I was just like, why are we bringing it down? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I was like,
But here's the thing now that I'm thinking about it, okay? We had I think I'm going to collectively say I think most people find that Regi, whichever version you say of it, is the best one that they've ever done. It was the first one they've ever done. And I got thinking about it, and every single queen had something iconic in their verse and in their choreography. I would argue that Roxy had the easiest choreography, but at least she had the fan and she was ripping the pages out and doing all that kind of stuff. And like her like wig was amazing. But like even like Detox had the chairs, like there was something complicated about every single one of them. And it was just like, let's give all the complicated stuff to Shea and then have Ms. Cracker do the season 6 thing. I couldn't, and like Jujubee's complication was I got to dip back at one point and that was it. But I felt like that wasn't an all-stars level of let's make things complicated. I think that might be another reason for me where I just kind of was focused more on the choreography and too. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, so this is one where they do the performance on that sort of sound stage versus on the main stage, whereas Category Is and Read You, Wrote You were both done on the main stage. Then I think American may have been the first one where they moved off onto this other stage to perform. So I think that allows them to do a lot more, but somehow almost because of the limit that they had with the stage, that it required innovation. It required them to come up with more stuff for the queens to do. Or maybe they're just running out of ideas. Honestly, I have no idea. But I thought, again, the performance itself was still fun, even though the song, in my opinion, was lacking. But let me just pull up, because I do, for those of you who are watching the video version of the podcast, I have Cracker's performance where they do the season 6 mini challenge thing where you sit over the other person and they do the legs. I thought that was just really fun. And then, of course, Miss Shea Coulee with that cartwheel, Josh. Oh my gosh. That was like the coolest thing.
me and my roommate were gagged when this happened. It's so incredible. Just need to watch it again. Please pass over. Yes, work. That's what I was thinking. I was living.
And Shea, I mean, Shea's not a big person, but she's not light either. So like, woo, man.
And she didn't drop a lip sync word at all. She just kept going.
Oh,
it was awesome.
I was so good. I was like, if she doesn't win, I am suing everything that has to do with Drag Race.
Did you guys all notice that for the first time too, I felt like all of the contestants were matching their specific background dancers? Have they done that before?
No, I don't think so. Which that took some level of coordination. I don't know from which end. I mean, I think it's based on what the queens wanted, because Crackers is all about like cooking and baking and what's for dinner and all that stuff. And so her backup dancers are all sort of dressed in these like 50s housewife garb that like, oh, they have aprons and all that stuff. Like they would actually be cooking, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's talk about the runways before we sort of summarize the season. So we did have all of the queens return. Oh, by the way, I do want to say having all the queens return to perform in the number, even though I could only see a few of them every once in a while, was still like kind of cool. You had Blair St. Clair doing her best choir kid on. Or theater kid, like learning the dance.
Yes, I felt so bad for her because she wanted to be there. It was so obvious.
Yeah, I liked that too. I kind of would have preferred if they were there the whole time. You know what I mean? I was still like, oh, I kind of wanted more. You know, just like let's really just bring this all together in the end. But it was really cute. I enjoyed that.
Okay, let's talk about the runway. So we do have all the queens walk the runway. I didn't pull the looks. So if there's any look that y'all want to talk about that was not from the top 3, let's just talk about those now before we dig through all of those. Yes, Josh.
I will mention Derek's runway where the crown fell off. That was a mess. That wig, I was like, that is an Elsa Halloween costume.
I kind of liked it though. I don't know if it was in the episode or during Untucked, but they were like, you know what, like this isn't a read, but I see Derek Barry, I don't see Brittany, and I really like that they were supporting her. You know what I mean? Because like I don't know why I have such a soft spot for Derek Barry. Like I have a penchant for liking people that everybody else hates, and I really need to see what that's about at some point. But I just
hey, you know what? You should enjoy that part of you.
I just I liked what she brought to the table. I thought that it was really elegant, and the crown falling off was she should have worked on that, but I liked her.
I did feel like it was very costumey, Josh. I don't feel like for an all-star eleganza runway, if that was what she would have worn in the top 3, honey. But coming back as the first boot of the season, appropriate. It was fine. It looked beautiful. She looked really great. The crown falling off was funny. She didn't have any pressure on her, so it didn't really matter. I have mixed feelings about Derek as a personality, but she was fun in this episode. It was fun to see her come back. It was fun to see her interact with the other queens. It was fun to see her do a runway, because to her point, she didn't get to do a runway all season. It was just the talent show in the first episode. So she gets to do her one and only runway. I was here for it. I was fine with it.
I personally, if I was Derek, would have come back in the I burnt my gym down workout gear fantasy. That's what I would have done. Because I burnt my gym down with a candle.
Free Brittany.
One thing led to another, and I burnt my gym down.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, so Britney Spears posted on Instagram that she just burned her gym down. She was so nonchalant about the whole thing.
But she was like in another gym doing a workout. She's like, you might notice that this isn't my gym, and it's because I burned my other one down.
Do you guys see the microwave
video? I've been to a gym in like 6 days, and it's because I burnt my gym down. I need that to be like. I need this to be like the album title for
I burnt my gym down. Oh.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I want that to be a song so bad. RuPaul, make that the season 13.
I'm Britney and I burnt my gym down.
Britney's runway. That's the challenge. There we go. We gave you an idea.
Okay, though there's one look I do want to talk about that burnt my house down, and that was Blair St. Clair. Like, I'm not gonna lie, she was prepared to be in top 3, because this look, oh my god, it was like the elevated version of that one look that she tried to make.
Exactly. that was what I was gonna say. I was like, I really when they had that challenge, I was like, she modeled it after this. She did, because that's like, it looks so much like it, but better. And
like a million times.
It was giving me some like Alexander McQueen vibes a little bit. I loved it. It was beautiful.
And the hair crown, like everything, just the crystals on the face, like everything, head to toe.
No wonder she was like, I need to be in this finale. I need this. Like,
I spent $750,000 on this outfit. I need it to go. No, I'm happy that they had for us, like this was great. The other one that I thought was amazing, I loved Mariah's, the like glitter petal gown, like very
mermaid.
Mary, yeah, like a elegant mermaid. It was gorgeous. I thought most of the queens, if not all of them, had a really awesome runway. I liked Angina's with like the repurposed fascinator from her first season, from season 1. That was so cool. And like the dress with like the like newspaper like aspect to it. Really wonderful silhouette on her that we're kind of accustomed to with her now. But I thought there were so many of them that were just beautiful.
I really liked Alexis's as well. I liked her. It was a really good take. I think it's her style really taken to another level. I thought Alexis did a really good job as well.
Yeah, I think what I wasn't a fan of was Mayhem's.
When she walked out in those pants, I was like, no. Well, sorry, I just like do not vibe with this.
And it just looked frumpy to me.
Like,
I get what
literally
looked frumpy.
What I wrote down.
Yeah,
that looked bad. Okay, well, I have been waiting since the episode has aired to talk about this look. Oh my gosh, we are talking Jujubee and we are talking Beth. Like, her best look this season, and maybe one of the best looks in this entire season. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous.
I would argue, I think this is one of the best that's ever been on America's Drag Race, period. And the fact it came from Juju, who needed a look like this more than anybody else at any point of any other competition. I'm not lying. This was amazing. It was beautiful. It told a story about her. It told a story about her journey to the top 3 for the 3rd time. I mean, I was just absolutely blown away. She came around the corner and I literally thought in my head, well, Shea and Cracker better be bringing something else, because if she got crowned because of this look, I would not be mad at that.
She went from the mall to the stadium, honey. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Because, I mean, here's the thing. She came into this season with, like, everything was, she had, like, upped her thing. I think, Aman, you said earlier in the season, she's, like, owning the mall now. But, like, this outfit was just out of this world. It was a league of its own. It was so good.
Yeah, that orange sash just really, at first glance, you're like, why is that there? But then it just really just, like, elevates that whole thing. Like, it's just it's so ornate, and it's just gold, and it just screams woman. Like, all of the curves are just perfect. Like, it's so, and like, I'm just looking at it now, like, that she knows that she looks good. Like, it's just like, bitch, like, I might not have had like the most, jaw-dropping looks throughout the season, but baby, I'm gonna give it to you right now. I love it. I love it so much.
Do you guys think this is better than Shea's bodysuit nude illusion outfit, like the In Your Skin runway? Because I think it is. And that was one I thought would be hard to top.
It's that sash. It's just really just like, it's just taking it to another level for me.
I think, yes, it is. Although those are, I think, my 2 favorite looks from the whole season, which now I don't know if I'm just biased. She looks naked and sparkly. I'm in.
Fan. I love it. I love it.
I also like the Carrie look, the one that Shea did with the rose petals.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my favorite looks. For sure.
Okay, well, the other queen that pays homage to her heritage, although I guess all 3 really did, was Ms. Cracker, and she comes out wearing this Russian-inspired pearl garment. Josh, what did you think about this?
I'm so happy you mentioned me on this. I'm actually a Russian Jew, so personally, I have always been a huge fan of Cracker because of Jewish heritage. I wish I could meet her to ask her which summer camp she went to growing up, because that's the first question us Jews ask. Is what Jewish summer camp you went to growing up, which is the funny question. But this was incredible. It really reached out to my heritage. I guess I'm like 3rd generation American. Like my grandma, great grandma came from Russia. Is on Ellis Island on a plaque. So it's cool.
Wow.
But
oh wow, that's awesome.
That's pretty sweet.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. So this was it was everything. I loved it. And yes, it didn't show all her curves, but just how she wore it, how she owned that it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aman, did your girl Cracker do good here?
I liked this. Something about it to me was like screaming reveal. I don't know why. Maybe it was because it was like so big. I just thought that I thought that she was about to just like rip something off, but she didn't, and I'm fine with that. I think that the pearls cascading down are really, really cool. I was half expecting RuPaul to make a pearl joke, but I'm glad that he didn't. But yeah, this is it's like Russian Jewish Barbie queen. I love it.
Yeah, Beth, I think that's a really great way to describe it. I think this look was gorgeous. Of course, like right after Juju, I felt so bad for her just because I was so blown away by Juju's. But looking at it without that appetizer, I just think this is really gorgeous, and she looks so beautiful.
She really does. I'm not going to lie. It took me a little bit longer of looking at it to really appreciate it, because for me, as I looked at it, I thought around the hips area, it's not because she doesn't have shape. It makes her look a shape that she's not, and it's not flattering. So that was the only portion of it. But then I started thinking like, well, it's probably there's so many, like we'll get into this with Shea's, where like the Empire, silhouette has ways of making your body look different, that isn't always like super flattering or whatever by Western standards of what beauty is. Right. And so I had to kind of like police that in my own mind at first and like really just take a step back, look at it. And I really, really love this. I love the story that she was able to provide after the fact, because I was not well versed in the idea of like what Russian, and Russian, especially Jewish, like traditional garb would look like at an elevated level. So, but I have to say, this looks gorgeous. And this is very Cracker while it's not Cracker. And that's what I think I love about it the most. I love the pearls on the, like, what I'm calling millennial pink or whatever. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. There's like fringe on the bottom part of the dress that I think is really pretty as well. Just adds another texture to it. I love the little veil of the pearls. The headpiece is absolutely gorgeous. So in her makeup, I mean, it's the signature Ms. Cracker makeup, and she looks like a woman.
The last queen to walk the runway is Miss Shea. Aman. Now, this was an outfit that she says is inspired by her mother, I believe, her prom look, which I thought was such a cool pull. And so neat that she even had that photo.
Yeah, welcome to the 60s. Yeah, I love this. The only thing that I will say about all three of the looks is that we're kind of lacking in the variety now, because obviously the silhouettes are different for Miss Cracker and for Shea, but all of the looks were pretty much monochromatic. Like I kind of wish that we got like a little bit more pop, but there was no way for them to anticipate what the other queens were going to do, so it's really not their fault, and they all look good. It was just like kind of like underwhelming, just in general. But yeah, I love the beehive. I love that they showed us the picture of her mom's dress, because it really just brought everything into context. And I always have a soft spot for the queens that do like sort of take after their mothers. You know what I mean? Because not all gay men are the same, but a lot of them do have feminine qualities, and it's nice to like see that highlight. You know what I mean? Like to own, like, look, like I wanted to look like my mom. I know that I'm a guy and I identify as a guy, but I wanted to embrace like the feminine part of me that exists because of growing up with this woman. You know what I mean? So I loved that, and I think that this was just so pretty and just so like she looks like just like a beautiful bubble of bubble gum. Like I just love it.
Some double bubble over here.
Yes.
Yeah, Josh, I think another thing is just she presents it so well. I mean, all the queens do, but she just looks fabulous here.
Honestly, when I saw this, I thought it was beautiful, and everything about it. And Aman was talking about this, the message it delivered. I think it delivered it spot on, and it was just an enhanced version of what her mom wore. And I loved that when she said that her dragon was inspired to Black women, and it gave such a good message. I really thought that this just delivered in so many levels. It was beautiful,
and that color against her skin just like really pops. Like
it actually made me cry when I first watched it, because I watched it a few times, but the first time I saw it and saw the message, I did. So I was a little emotional.
Yeah, and to your point, Josh, I mean, and this is something that a mom brought up as well, but like the fact that she in her answer says that in her, you know, in the purest form, like her drag really is a love letter to Black women. And so to pick this outfit, Beth, I just thought was just the cherry on top, I think, to really pushing that message.
It really was. I think that Shea has had many moments in this competition and in season 9 of making sure that she's uplifting Black women in her drag and like creating messages about how Black people specifically are beautiful. It doesn't have, you don't have to be white to be beautiful, which is very ingrained in a lot of our messaging. You don't have to look a certain way. And I think that a lot of drag queens do that. Shea, in my opinion, is one of the best at it. She is absolutely gorgeous. I'll never forget the first episode of season 9 when Lady Gaga and Untucked was backstage and she told Shea, like, you're gorgeous. You don't have to put so much makeup underneath here. And Shea's like, but I like it. And I was like, imagine not taking Lady Gaga's advice because you like the way you look. Like, that is the baddest bitch ever. Like, and absolutely, you were right. You were gorgeous. You don't need to listen to someone like Lady Gaga. You know what your beauty is, and you know what you stand for. And you stand for other Black women and Black people, Black non-binary people, whatever the case might be. You stand for and with them. And I think that's gorgeous. So, I mean, I agree with you, Josh. I had a tear in my eye with all 3 of them with the finale, but it kind of put it over the edge. It just dropped when it got to Shea Coulee's talking about her mom.
I think
I just love that I just love that it's becoming normalized too. You know what I mean? Because in like a couple of years ago, we probably wouldn't be talking about this. Like someone saying this is a love letter to Black women on TV on Drag Race would have been like, oh, why are we bringing in race? Why are we doing that? Like, I just love that we were just able to have this moment. And I mean, like you said, like, the reason why I love it so much as it pertains to the 60s is because that was like a period in time in at least Black fashion where things really diverted. You know what I mean? Like what was like what Black people wore in the 60s was different from what white people wore. How they styled their hair has always been different. So it's like I just like that she was able to like tie all of that in. It's like there's a lot to unpack here. And I think that totally the message that she sent was just awesome. So,
and it got me as a white person to really think about that. I started thinking about, whoa, what did the 60s really mean for a Black woman going to prom? You know, what did that mean? Were you at a segregated school? Where in the country were you? Where in the civil rights movement? Where were we? Were we on the precipice of doing something? And it really got me to think about that. And just appreciate the look even more for something that I will never be able to fully understand, but I can appreciate. And so that was something that I really just loved out of Shea's runway.
Yeah. And I think it was really smart to give that. It's like a history lesson for Drag Race fans out there, because I think that Drag Race fans, you know, it's a crowd, you know what I mean? Drag Race fans, I think educating them on certain aspects of different cultures is going to benefit them as well, I think, moving forward, especially with everything going on.
Yeah, this was filmed last year. It was really, I think this makes it even more poignant given the climate of change we are, I would argue, still in the embers of creating, not anywhere near starting the real fire of. But.
Okay, so we have one final thing to talk about, and that is the final lip sync. So obviously we have all 3 of the the Queen's lip sync. Sorry, Beth, I see you laughing.
I started laughing because Josh started laughing.
Y'all are a mess.
That song came on and I was like,
who chooses this for a last lip sync and an all-star season? Guys, I need to meet the person who chose the lip sync songs. all season because they need to be fired. I'm sorry about it.
They were definitely fired. Come on. I have inside sources.
Yeah, this was an odd choice. I think all three queens performed very well. But, I mean, that being said, like these final lip syncs really don't mean all that much. The decision I assume was probably already made, but if there was still some doubt, I really think Shea Coulee probably did the best here. She had a clear idea of what she wanted to do. She came out in essentially what is the blue version of the Sasha Velour wig that she lost to with the rose petals. I don't know if that was intentional or not, Aman, but that was such a fantastic move.
I totally saw that. I was like, oh, I see what you're doing, bitch. I see what you're doing. I was surprised that she put that dress on because I think I can't remember if it's in Untucked or during the episode. She's like, I don't give a shit. When I want to go out there and I want to look pretty. I know this is like a really strange gown to lip sync in, but like, this is what I like. It's like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to look fabulous doing it. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
The song was interesting. I felt bad for Cracker. I don't know what the hell was supposed to come out of her titties, but
salt and pepper, honey. Salt and pepper shakers.
It was like smoke or something, right? That's what she was trying to
glitter.
do.
I thought I saw glitter too. I was like, what's going on here? It was just not. I was like, I kind of preferred that she just didn't do it because I was like, once you did it, it's like now all I can think about are Asia O'Hara's butterflies or whatever else other reveals are out there that just didn't land. So it was.
Yeah, I was thinking salt and pepper. Maybe she was salt and peppering. What's her name? Who wore bacon in season 6? Maybe she was
Kelly Mantle.
Bacon.
Imagine if that was the reference she was going for. It was so obscure that nobody was. Yeah, I felt bad for Cracker. I honestly thought that Shea was going to do a very similar wig reveal at some point where she was going to take off the wig and have it be like, I don't know, not rose petals, but like if they were black petals or something like black rose petals.
Well, I thought it was going to be something like blue to like match her gown, sparkle stars or something, or like maybe like little
stars would have
been it.
That would have been incredible.
Stars would have been it.
Yeah.
She just stole all the crystals off of Blair St. Clair's outfit and said, I need these. And then just
as Aman was saying, no butterflies though. We don't want to do that again. Okay.
No, yeah. What is it? Don't work with animals and children. Okay. Even if they're insects, no animals.
That was rough.
Okay. Well, so that really is the episode. We have Untucked, although not much happens in Untucked. I think we do get the thing that Aman was referencing where Shea Coulee was like, I better look fantastic. I don't care if I'm getting crowned in a gown. And Juju and Cracker talking about looking like hot moms. That's what I have from Untucked.
We did get some reconciliation between Alexis and
India.
Yeah. So that was nice, I guess.
I like that it was Alexis being like, girl, you know what you're doing, but I forgive you because it's a competition. I was like, I love you.
She's still in India was still like, she said something along the lines like, I'm still kind of sticking to my word. I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? Like, you're sticking to your word, but you're sorry. Like,
I mean, it's one thing to be like, look, that's what I thought I heard. That's what I thought, even though it doesn't make sense at all. Like, if you still want to try to like push it, I don't know. Or even just look, if that's what she was doing to play the game, I would have so much more respect for her if she just came out and was like, oh yeah.
Yes.
Like, I'm playing the game. Like, I want to stay.
Especially because she created an alliance in the first thing that also came out. If it had come out that India Farah, that nobody even thought would come back for an All-Stars, was playing the damn game, think about how much more those queens and all of us would be like throwing respect at her way.
Yes, and it would give the other queens in future All-Star seasons permission to do the same damn thing. Like, I want to see it. I want to see the alliances. I want to see people like lying and backstabbing each other. Like, come on, y'all. Like, this is good TV. It's what we want.
I kind of hope starting next season they keep this twist, but instead keep it where only the winner wins, like how they did the second half.
That's what they should have done from the beginning. Yes.
Then I agree. Literally Drag Race meets Survivor.
That's great.
That would be so fun.
Would be incredible.
Okay, so I have one question that I want us to discuss before we talk about Canada's Drag Race. And this is something that was tweeted out by our very own Mike Bloom. So, Mike
Hey.
Bloom, he tweeted, "My hot take is season 9 is the Survivor San Juan del Sur of Drag Race. Not given much time in the moment, but now we all look back and say, wow, that season had all those queens in it." And then he also says, while we're at it, these with Survivor comparisons, All Stars 5 is the editing cousin of Ghost Island. So let's focus on the first part of that. I'd like to not discuss Ghost Island. But Josh, what are you thinking here?
I don't know. Like, I kind of didn't, because we were discussing this earlier. I didn't get the like full reference. Like, the only thing I was thinking is that there's a lot of like big cast members. Maybe like Kelly Wentworth was on Ghost Island. Queen Kelly Wentworth, love her, by the way. She's a Gemini like me, love. And you got Natalie, and you got like a few like big characters, but it wasn't like a Jeremy. It wasn't a memorable season though overall, but it had some like big names. Is that like the reference he's trying to say?
Well, I think also like, especially with time, San Juan del Sur is a season that's gotten a lot more love recently. Like, I know personally it was always one of a season that I enjoyed, and I didn't really understand why it got so much hate. I think also because it's just like known for so many crazy characters, and people that have come back, like Drew Christie, my God, like even, you can talk about him being such an entertaining character. And I think when we look at season 9, first of all, three of the top 4 have gone on to win an All-Stars season, or of course Sasha Velour won her season. So that's sort of like Jeremy comes back, wins, Natalie comes back. Not only does she win her original season, but does well. So I can sort of see some of these comparisons that he's making here, Beth.
I can too. I also think that we had such strong feelings about the lack of, everybody at the time thought the season 9 and San Juan del Sur were like kind of lackluster, and that maybe we didn't like all the personalities on the season. Like, if you remember, like, I felt like everyone in season 9 was like really down on Nina Bonina Brown being down on herself, and people were really down on Eureka, but then Eureka got pulled out, and then people were really down on like all these like queens. And when you really look at it, like, in the moment, I still maintain to this day, for a regular season, that is the best promo shot that has ever been done. All of those queens looked fantastic, for the exception of like one. And I mean, they all brought it. And I just remember looking at the promo being like, oh my God, this season's going to be lit. And then it just was kind of lackluster. I would argue, though, that the season that everybody still continues for Drag Race to shit on, but I feel like has some of the best ones, is 7. Exactly. Look at all the queens that were on season 7 of Drag Race, and a lot of that was not their fault. It was like the planning of the producer's fault.
It wasn't, though, because season 7 was like, had a great cast, it had so much potential. Like, but then like Trixie went 4th out. Which, do you guys know the TN why Trixie apparently went out 4th?
Something with Pearl and RuPaul or something like that. There was like the idea that people would pay attention because Pearl was more attractive out of drag or something like that.
I actually heard, because of the Snatch Game, if you saw a video of Trixie's audition, she was going to be Anne Frank.
Oh, yeah.
Game. So I heard that was actually part of the reason why the production cut her beforehand, is because she was going to do Anne Frank, which it would have been so funny. As a Jew, I would have loved it. I would have been living.
Well, they told her, I think I know this for a fact, but I'll have to check again. They told her not to bring Anne Frank, and she said that she didn't. And so I think that they were nervous that she might flip the switch script and do it anyway. I was like, what am I saying wrong? But yeah, I don't know. But I feel like season 9, season 7 are comparable in that way. Going back to the point is like, I think that they're both like the San Juan del Surs. I can definitely see.
Definitely. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go. What are your thoughts?
I was going to say they definitely have like names that have like aged well. You know what I mean? That have gone on to do a lot of cool things. I mean, the winner of the season won with that epic rose petal thing. The Trinity's on that season. Eureka is on that season. Peppermint, who is now doing TV and stuff on Broadway, is on that season. Nina Bonina Brown is on that season. Valentina and her crazy ass was just in Rent a couple years ago on NBC. Like, there's so many big names that have like, I think it's probably one of the more successful casts of.
And then you have Aja,
Agreed.
like, I mean,
Aja.
came back and just like absolutely showed people what she really had. Has been an amazing
Pheromone, Eureka. Even James Mansfield and Kimora
Yes.
Black, I think, are still remembered.
Yeah, they're still
for their
and
season.
they do well on TV, on YouTube too.
Exactly. Alexis Michelle, our favorite producer. She's up there. Eureka, like we talked about before.
I am an unapologetic Alexis Michelle fan. I love her. I love her drag. I completely could understand where she was coming from with everything. That doesn't mean I agree with it. I'm just putting that out there. But I could understand her meltdowns in season 9 because she's a theater person. Theater people are like that. They're precious about things. I don't know. I'm unapologetic as well.
It was cringy to watch her her roast though, and like trying to tell me she was Jewish when she was not Jewish.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And like her weird, because didn't she dress up? Didn't she do the
all green?
Yes, and then she had those weird green titties or something that like totally stood out and didn't match. Oh my god! And then her final construction look was so bad. She was like, "But I stoned this like corset."
It was the same thing with Derek Barry.
There's the hem here. There's the hem here. And it was funny because like I understood what she was trying to say about Sasha Velour, because she said that Sasha Velour's looks were pedestrian, which was not at all the right word. What she was trying to say was that they're simplistic, which is true, but they're high fashion.
She just has a case of like often having correct opinions, but does not know how to deliver them. At all. But I've met her now a couple times, and I have to say, legitimately, out of all the Drag Race queens I've met, one of the nicest and just so warm and inviting, and was super, super, like, she had a good size line too, but like really took her time with people. It wasn't like okay, thank you, next, as you can sometimes get at like a drag con or whatever. But just want to put that out there because I think people still shit on her.
Another queen that we didn't mention was, of course, Charlie Hides was on season 9, who has like the Aja telling kids like, "Oh, Charlie Hides is like telling kids to get off her lawn." That feeling just fantastic. Like even that boot is iconic because like. The acts in London don't
Charlie, let's go.
Yes, and she's just standing there. And then she like had a broken rib or whatever the whole like drama was.
She had diarrhea that day, apparently.
It's just so much.
Yeah, gout.
That was the best moment. And I'm sorry, season 9's reunion is the best reunion there ever was. And it all came down to not only the fan favorite kind of stuff, but literally, I don't know if you all have seen that GIF, but somebody said season 9's reunion was literally like this video of like all these people throwing and beating things on this old person who's just on the ground like that. They're like all the queens, and this is Charlie Hides. But even like RuPaul was like, "And didn't you have diarrhea that day?" Like it was like something that wasn't in the narrative of the episode at all. Did not need to be brought up.
All right. Well, Mike, I don't know if we answered your question or not, but we certainly talked about season 9 for a bit. So I hope you're happy. All right. Well, let's wrap everything up. Are there any final thoughts that you guys want to give on All Stars 5 before we put a pin in it? Aman, anything you're thinking?
I'm pleased. I think that the season had certainly introduced some queens to me because I haven't seen some of the earlier seasons still. So I'm happy in that respect. I think that the winner was well deserved. The people that made it to the end, well deserved. I don't know if it's like my favorite of the All-Star seasons, but it's a good season. So I think that right now though, this is the time to take a break. I don't want to see All-Star 6 until at least 2022. If I'm being honest, like I just feel like give some more of these more current queens more time to live and breathe. Like I want to see like people that get brought back next time that we haven't seen in a long time. You know what I mean?
I want to see Trinity K. Bonet back. That is who I want to see back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love
so
that.
Good. Have you seen her recently?
Yes, I've seen videos. She's incredible.
I mean, she's starting to really bring in that Beyonce fantasy. She's looking real good.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Canada's Drag Race. So first, if you are hopping out, you're not watching Canada's Drag Race. Thank you for being with us throughout this whole season. It was so much fun. You heard from a lot of us. We really, really enjoyed the season. And thank you, Josh, for coming on and being our guest. Where can people find you if they're interested in following you on social media?
You can follow me at Mendels8. That's Mendels 8 on Instagram, Twitter, Josh Mendelson on Facebook, but I don't, hit me up.
And Beth, what about you? Where can people find you? What are you up to?
People can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at AugustaWind11. I am continuing to work with my weekly meltdown. We're going to wrap up BB10, I think, this week, and we're going to do the final 4 through to the end on Thursday. We're getting into BB22 coverage. We're going to have some fun with cast rumors and all that fun stuff. And then also, if you are a fan of Twitch and a fan of the game Werewolf, I will be playing with a whole bunch of fun people from RHAP as a podcast, My Weekly Meltdown, Sequester, Twitch people on my stream on August 2nd at AugustaWind11 at 7 p.m. Eastern. Love to have you stop by and have a good old time with us as we play some Werewolf.
And Aman, what about you?
You can find me at Amon Adwin on Twitter, cutting up as per usual.
All right, let's discuss Canada's Drag Race. So this week, the queens had to create a fashion line from recycled materials. And I think before I was like, the headline here is the judging, because even my friends who don't really watch Drag Race were like, what happened on RuPaul's Drag Race? Like, it's trending on Twitter. What is going on? So I kind of feel like we have to really discuss this, because essentially we had the 3 different fashion lines where each of the different groups had to make it out of a different recycled material. So Jimbo, Tainomi, and Alona were all the Maison Papier, so the House of Paper. Lemon, Boa, and Priyanka were the House of Rust, doing the metal. Scarlett, Rita, and Kiara did plastic, which their house name was La Maison Boraga, which is just a merge of all of their names. And of course, all of their looks had to be cohesive and high fashion is what they were going for. So, Josh, the judging this week.
What was with the judging this week? Seriously. Honestly, I think they were so off. I did think that Jimbo was incredible. I thought Jimbo did a great job. And I thought that Metal, they said Metal was like in the middle. I thought Metal was absolutely the weakest. They were completely off as far as my opinion goes.
Mm-hmm.
Completely off.
So the winners were the plastic, the La Maison Boraga, and then the overall winner was Rita. So, and then the other queens were all judged. So the 3 winning queens were sent to their Untucked lounge. The other queens were giving critiques, and the judges were also, I think, just kind of rude, if I'm being honest, or at least maybe it was just Jeffrey Boyer Chapman Amon, because the whole line to Jimbo about her using her time and we'll use it better maybe was just so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I thought the episode started off so well. You know what I mean? I was glad to see that that Stacey was the one that was controlling the workroom in the beginning. I was like, okay, we're getting some variety here. We're getting a chance to warm up to all of the judges. This isn't going to be the Jeffrey Boyer Chapman show. But they really didn't like that paper look. I was like, that was constructed so well. I was so shocked. And it felt like, is he trying to establish himself as the bitch of the judging panel? Because I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having a harsh judge. Everybody has to you need a Simon Cowell on every panel, right? You need that. But be constructive.
At least be right.
Right. It just didn't make any sense to me. It really felt like, are we rigging here? Was there a plan that was supposed to take place this week, and then the queens outperformed, and you thought that they were going to do worse than what they did, and then all of a sudden you have to switch it came so out of left field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Beth, what did you think about the results this week?
I agree with the winners. I agree that for me, the assignment was to have a cohesive line of a runway, right? So a collection had to look like they did it. That would, in my opinion, they were the most cohesive in terms of having little bits and pieces that were like elevated, right? So that made sense to me. So therefore, it does make sense to have paper and metal. But I agree. I felt like metal was obviously the worst. They were like really blown away by Priyanka. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Priyanka.
Like, oh my
But it
goodness,
was
I'm getting
ugly.
such high fashion.
so
I'm getting
weird.
such like you should be on the runways in Paris. I'm like, what? Who the fuck?
It was sloppy. It was.
What
sloppy.
are you buying?
I was
What
like,
magazines do you read? Have you been to New York Fashion Week?
It
What
was
is going on?
the only person there who's been to New York Fashion Week, I guarantee, is Stacey, and she didn't have any of that. Well, I don't know. I can't remember actually. I think she probably did compliment Priyanka.
And then
but
those weird ass fucking umbrellas that I thought they were going to get tetanus from if they like open them the wrong way. It was just like, what the hell is going on here?
Also, can we talk about our baked potato? We have Boa, she's not serving fish, she's serving dish.
she's got the starch side.
It was like Jiggly Caliente's comparison, okay?
Like, what we have now gotten from Boa every single time is boob gag, boob gag, boob gag, vagina gag. Like those were literally what we've gotten from her every single time. So I did agree with the judges saying, like, can you do something else? Because you've gotten in the top because of your personality, but you kind of have to start bringing it on the runway a little bit more. So I agreed with that. I agree that Lemon's look was the best out of the three in the medal. I thought she looked beautiful, but I also do agree. It did not look like a collection. It did not look like there was any kind of cohesive team thing. So I do agree that they should have been the bottom. And I think that Priyanka and Boa should have been the two that lip synced. However, I also agree with the judges that the night looks, though gorgeous, were costumey. Those were not high fashion looks. They were not high fashion. So I was not upset that the two of them were in the bottom. I don't like how they came at Tainomi because I feel like a lot of that was unwarranted. And I felt like that was gaslighting, to be perfectly honest with you. I felt like for the past couple of weeks, it's been like gaslighting critiques, quote unquote, towards Tainomi. But I also didn't like how Ilona handled everything and behind the scenes, like all of that was a mess. I didn't like the critique about Jimbo, but I will also say this: Jimbo is not a saint in this situation either, because her team had a clear vision of what they wanted to do. She went the other way. If I were Ilona and Tainomi, what I would have done is said, well, we're going to do what we want, throw her under the bus to the judges and say, yeah, that looks great. But you know what she's not doing? Working as a team player. This is what our concept was. She's the one that ruined it. And I would have stuck with it. Throw her under the bus because that's what she was willing to do to you guys, to get you guys to like be her knights. So that's just my thoughts on the competition part of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up. So we were supposed to, a little behind the scenes fun information. We were supposed to record tomorrow, but my power went out, or yesterday. So my power went out, and I was supposed to pull the Canada's clips, but I did not, and then I forgot because I'm super professional. But yeah, I mean, I think I co-sign what a lot of you guys are saying. I think that just if the goal was to create a high fashion line, I think that the plastic team definitely won that. Now, who belongs in the bottom? That is, I think, a little bit up to interpretation, because if you're thinking about like what looks were constructed the best, that's maybe different than what is high fashion, because maybe you could argue that like the Rust metal team was more high fashion, but they were just also ugly. So, you know, it's really hard.
Like the paper was more high fashion. Like I get the costuming critique, I do, but just like the take on what like a royal queen and her knights look like, that part wasn't costuming to me. Like I felt like the deconstructed corset look and like the metal part of like what fans out the skirt in a dress, I really like that. I thought that it was like very unconventional, and I just was shocked. It just looked like they did so much more work than metal, and it just seemed really, really off to me. I didn't get it.
I also felt like I think we also need to kind of take a step back, and I don't know if the judges did this or not, and think about how easy it is to work with some of these materials, because it is a lot easier to cut paper than it is to cut metal, right? And to style that. So it's not surprising, although it was absolutely like mind blowing at the same time that Jimbo was able to do that awesome construction of her dress. But if she had metal, there's no way she would have been able to do that intricate amount of detail in the timing that she had, right? In my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. I would love for Jimbo to show me if that's right or not. But.
I mean, part of it is taking advantage of the material that you're given, right? She was able to do that with that, whereas the Team Plastic created something very different. But yeah, just very it was very interesting. I mean, I think that this was a cool challenge to do. I love the design of it, that they're doing another design challenge, so we're really, I think, getting a little bit of a balance, even though I guess you could say, well, the first episode was a design challenge, we're doing another one, it's only episode 4, but at the same time, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was too much samey here. But Beth, you brought this up, which was the whole drama of what happened after the runway. And Team Plastic kind of like talks about this. They're like, the whole atmosphere just changed, Amon. It was like, as soon as the queens that got judged came in, like everybody was upset.
I mean, hurt people, right? Like Jeffrey Boyer really kind of laid it on thick, and I felt like they just went back into the lounge. He just took it out on everybody.
I'm telling you,
it was rough. This is a turning point for this season for me.
It was really interesting. How earlier in the episode you see Alona making fun of people whether or not they can pull off their looks, and then she's in the bottom and she like, I'm gonna put it out there, okay? She completely played up the victim. She made it all about herself. She I think that I loved that Jimbo came right back at her. And what I don't like, and here's what I don't like. If you agree with somebody, you don't have to enter the conversation and be kind of bitchy and jump and pile on somebody. But if you could say something like, you know what, guys, I have to kind of agree with Jimbo in this situation. I don't mean to like make you upset or anything, but like, can we hear about what other people's critiques were like or something like that? Because clearly everybody else felt the way that Jimbo did, but it only seemed like Jimbo was the only one saying something. So like, if you feel that strongly, jump in and say something, because then I might help Alona like get a sense of where she's at in this competition. And then the whole fact that she now goes on stage and goes, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't, and then it just turns it out. It was a great lip sync. I don't know.
There were a few people this season that are like Alona. Like Kine was like that too. Like they were like kind of delusional and kind of cringeworthy, like bad sportsmanship. And they were all about like, Alona had that whole thing about, I came and I brought all these dresses and then I get screwed on because of something I had designed. It was something like that she said in this episode. And I was just like, it was like nails to a chalkboard for me.
Like, do you know what show you signed up for? You're not going to wear something you brought every week.
There's design challenges. It's like kind of how it works.
Yeah.
Did you see season 3? All it was fucking design challenges. I just put it out there.
I think Priyanka in the confessionals, like, you go off, Jimbo, you get her. That was really funny. Because here's the thing, like, I would rather feel something when I'm watching reality TV. Good, bad, I want to feel something. I don't know what that says about me, but like, I want the drama. So I was actually really here for this episode because of sort of the whole drama of it all, with both the judging and then also with this whole Alona versus Jimbo nonsense. I thought all of it, was just like really dramatic and fun. And I think, again, fun according to my definition. I think it sort of breaks this a feeling that maybe we've been having about Canada of like, oh, it's all great, it's all fun. Like, okay, Kine was a delusional one, but like she's gone. And now we're getting so much more drama here, Amon, that I think the rest of the season is going to be super fascinating.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is a really big turning point for the show, because a lot of us, Canada has like this, Canadians have this stereotype of being generally kind to people, right? But no, like they're just like anybody else, and they're gonna get mad, they're gonna get sassy. And I feel like this is opening up, like, the fact that this is indeed a competition for all of them. Like, this is not summer camp, y'all, or can Canada even have summers? Like, this is
5 days.
This is a real thing. Okay, so I'm excited to see what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, going back to Jeffrey Bauer Chapman, I felt a shift in him this past week. Like
It was the eyeliner.
I was gonna say that it's the eyeliner. He literally smoked it out and said, "I'm gonna be that bitch," and by that bitch, I mean that bitch. I'm just gonna be a bitch. That's what I'm gonna do.
He's gonna be Michelle Visage today.
And it's somebody like I saw the argument online that was like, oh, well, you know, Drag Race has Michelle Visage and she doesn't have a drag background. Actually, bitch, she does have a drag background. She is a product of the ball scene. She was there too. She was a part of that in the 80s, in the 90s. So she has way more to her resume than Jeffrey Bauer Chapman does, to my knowledge. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That's what she did. She was Ballroom, which incredible. Has anyone watched Legendary? Sorry to throw it out
Legendary,
there.
so good.
Incredible. So good.
So the lip sync this week is Alona versus Tainomi, which this is Tainomi's third time in the bottom. So I think a little bit of the writing was on the wall, but they did Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend, which I thought was so fun here. And then Tainomi eventually gets sent home. Aman, do you think this was the right call?
For the sheer fact that she was in the bottom that many times, probably. I think that she beat Alona in the lip sync. I loved when she took off the little tassels and treated them like their pom-poms, because like the music video for Girlfriend, I think, has a bit of a high school theme to it. So I was like, oh, you're tying it in. I see what you're doing here. But yeah, I mean, it was sad to see her go, especially we just lost 2 Black queens back to back. God damn it!
Out of how many? There was like what? There's like 3 in the entire cast. Come on.
I know.
Yeah, that, like, not gonna lie, that's a little rough. Because, you know, looking at the queens that are remaining, it's Kiara, I think, who's the only Black queen that's left.
I think so. Yep.
So yeah, which not great, but at the same time, like I think that was probably
she was the best choice. That's just how about this time.
So Josh,
I'm sorry.
Well, the show kept giving her so many opportunities, I think, because she's such a big star in Canada. But, you know, I mean, the truth of the matter is that at least according to the judges' standards, like, she hasn't been performing.
Yeah. Tainomi, I think she's like a big name that came into it. She was probably one of the bigger names. I think her and like Rita Vega were both like the big names. And she just hasn't performed. I mean, she was great. I feel like the queens, she was like a Miss Congeniality within the queens. I feel like all the queens loved her. You could tell when she went home and everyone was crying. But she just hasn't brought it to that next level. It's kind of, to me, like a Mayhem Miller a little bit. She just hasn't brought it. And she has all the pieces of the puzzle to do it, and she's just not. Now, Kiara, you guys mentioned earlier, Kiara is the dark horse for me. She's incredible, and I have a feeling she's going to make a run. I have my money bet on Kiara right now.
Kiara is somebody that I felt like was unfairly judged last episode. I thought that she should have been in the top area when she was considered to be not as great. And I was like, I did not lose her in the lip sync. I thought she was one of the best ones. So I kind of tend to agree with you on that one, Josh.
Yeah, we talk about this often, but just because someone doesn't do well on Drag Race doesn't mean they're not a great drag queen. And I think that that's a perfect example here with Tainomi. That's someone who is such a fantastic queen in her own right off of Drag Race, and it sometimes just doesn't necessarily translate.
Yeah.
Well, next week we're going to get Snatch Game. So I'm probably way too excited. Snatch Game has always been, you know, up and down and rough sometimes, but I'm curious to see what these Canadian queens are going to do with Snatch Game and who they're going to end up doing impersonations of. So we will find out about that next week. Right. Okay. So this was so fun. I think we're gonna go ahead and close things out here. Before we do, I do want to plug we've been plugging a charity every single week. This week is no different. We're going to be talking about the National Bailout Fund, nationalbailout.org. So you can head on over to their website. There's actually a different link to donate, but you can get there from nationalbailout.org. So National Bailout is a collective. It's Black-led, Black-centered, and it's all about, of course, like building community and taking the burden off of those who have been imprisoned and just really putting together such a coordinated effort in order to do so. There are various bailouts funds that are unique to different regions. So like I know that there's a Minnesota one, there's definitely a New York one, but this one is national. So it tries to coordinate amongst all of those organizations as well as do its own work. So of course you're more than welcome to donate to, I mean, any charity that you'd like, but we're plugging the nationalbailout.org website because that touches, I think, hopefully everybody that listens to this podcast. So check out nationalbailout.org to donate today. And that about does it for us. So Josh, thank you again for coming on. If you want to give your Twitter handle one more plug, you can go ahead and do that.
Definitely. Thank you again for having me. This was so exciting. My Twitter plug, Instagram is Mendels8. That's M as in Mary, E, N as in Nancy, D-E-L-S as in Sam, the number 8. Instagram, Twitter. Go ahead and follow me.
Yeah.
And Amon, what about you?
You can find me at Amon Adwin, talking about the possible cast for BB22. Stuff like that.
Who's the moment of this hour? Who are we talking about now? Is it
Keisha.
Keisha? Yes. We're excited.
All right. And Beth, what about you?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at AugustaWind11.
And you can find me on social media or on Twitter at Liana RHAP. So I am also doing the Survivor rewatch that Josh is doing, Josh and Rob are doing over with the Wiggle Room. And then we're, of course, doing on the RHAP B&B. This week, we're talking Survivor Micronesia, which was such a fun episode to discuss. Yeah, this was talking about the effing stick. So very classic episode within the history of Survivor. And then I am also going to be joining the I guess the brand new 90 Day Fiance coverage for Rob Has a Podcast. So our very own Puya Zanvakili is going to be hosting essentially one podcast a week, doing like this week in 90 Day Fiance, because the 90 Day Fiance franchise has ballooned into this absolute monster. There are currently 2 spinoffs going on right now, Happily Ever After and The Other Way, both in part of the 90 Day family. So he's going to do one about Happily Ever After and one about The Other Way. And then after that, the following week, combine them into one podcast. So I'm going to be doing the Happily Ever After coverage. He and I will be doing that together. And then, keep an eye out for the other coverage that'll be there. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun, a really fun addition to the RHAP family. And if you like drama and mess, that is definitely a show for you. I can't wait to break that all down. All right, that does it for us here today. If you want to support everything RHAP, become a patron of Rob Has a Podcast. Check out patreon.com. Look for Rob Has a Podcast. There are several tiers. You can support us at whatever level you feel comfortable, but that allows us to do everything that we do here on this podcast and in RHAP at large. Leave your star ratings and reviews on iTunes. Shout out to Scott St. Pierre behind the scenes. And we will talk to y'all next week talking about Canada's Drag Race. Bye.